Good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully everyone can see me. Hopefully your conference experience has started off pretty well and pretty amazing, because I know I've already heard from some great speakers and I'm already excited for the rest of the day. So welcome to Diversity and Inclusion. It's in our DNA. This is a workshop and I'm honored to be the facilitator for one of the first of the day. My name is Sydney Hyatt, of course. Our featured speaker today is the wonderful Andrea D'Souza, Senior Director of Information and Digital Solutions at Lilly. She's a former neuroscientist who pivoted her career to working at the intersection of technology, science, and business, gaining international recognition as a leader in big data, artificial intelligence, as well as data sciences. A deep champion of STEM and STEAM, she's here to convince us all of the power of dreaming data science. Before we begin, I like to make sure everyone has their chat boxes ready to engage with and interact with our speaker as she requests. And without further ado, and on behalf of BDPA, I'd like to thank you all for joining, and I'll hand the session over to our presenter. Andrea, are you with us? Apologies for the technical difficulties. Andrea, are you there? I can't seem to hear you. That's no good. I see you here and unmuted. Are you able to speak now?
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay, awesome. Can you guys see me?
I cannot see you.
Oh, okay, that's intriguing. Should I go ahead and log back in and come back? What do you suggest?
That could help. I'm seeing your name on the screen, so.
Okay, give me 2 minutes. Let me see if I can log out and come back in.
Sounds good.
Okay, I'm back in. Can you guys see me now? Awesome, there we go. Can you guys see me okay?
Now we can. There you are.
Okay, wonderful. And then do I have permission to share?
You should. If not, I could take control if you want. Not a big deal.
I think I got.
And there we are. Take it away.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction, Sydney, and thank you to the organizers of BDPA for having me here. I'm here today, as Tim talked about, to have us all engage in a discussion and dialogue on dreaming. And in this case, since dreams are more important than your memories, I want us to think about IT in a fundamentally different way and start to have this amazing dialogue. Can you dream data science? First, just real quickly, a little bit more about me. So on the left-hand side, you'll see me presenting at Bio Taiwan, one of my all-time favorite conferences. I got to do the keynote talk around the use of artificial intelligence for cancer. What an amazing, amazing conference it was. It was amazing for a whole host of reasons. I don't know that I, as a young child, could have ever envisioned being on a big stage, far away in Taiwan, one of the most beautiful places in the world, presenting to all of these amazing leaders.
Andrea, sorry to interrupt. Could you put the presentation in presentation mode for us?
During that dialogue, not only did I have the opportunity to do the keynote, but I met some amazing people that I've kept in touch with throughout my time since then. It's coming up on almost 5 years later. On the right-hand side, you see why this is so important to me. This being diversity and inclusion. It's my 3 godchildren. All of them have a lot of diversity in their backgrounds, because if you look into my family, we go all the way from blonde-haired and blue-eyed to half African-American with curly hair. That's Josh on the left-hand side, Bo, a recent cancer survivor, and Mara. 3 wonderful, amazing godchildren who continually inspire me to be better, to do better, to leave the world a better place for them. So if we could real quickly have a little bit of fun. So I'm going to go to the next slide, and I want you guys to get on the chat there. And quickly, we're going to do a little bit of a pop quiz. Do you know who this is? Sydney, tell me when to reveal the answer. Any guesses on there?
Getting a couple responses. I'm hearing Mr. Fraser, Ken Fraser.
Yes, you are correct. The grandson of a slave raised by a single father who also was a janitor, who rose to the ranks of being the CEO of Merck. Next one. How about this beautiful, beautiful woman? Couple hints. The first Black pediatrician, a strong advocate for mental health for kids, and made a tremendous, tremendous impact for poverty. Margaret Morgan Lawrence. She was mentored by this next person. You heard Tim talk about the value of mentorship and having multiple mentors. Happen to know who this is? Any guesses? Charles Drew, a pioneer in the field of storage of blood. Tremendous impact on blood banking. And yes, did a lot of mentorship. One of the first African-American physicians. Last and definitely not least, given that I'm both an advocate for STEM, and if you happen to love LA, we tend to put the A, the arts, back into STEM. We say STEAM a lot, full steam ahead. What about this impressive man? David Driscoll. He had 3 careers. He was an artist. We lost him last year at the age of 88 to COVID. He was a curator of art. Both Oprah and the Clintons actually sought out advice on building their collections from him. And he was a professor and a teacher of art. Amazing, amazing human being. What I know and love about him is as I continue to aspire to fulfill my dreams and dream bigger and bolder, I'm still hoping someday to get remarried again. There's this amazing Washington Post interview out there where him and his wife, Thelma, talk about their 64-year plus marriage and what it took to make that long-term relationship successful. So, what's my motivation? What's my intent in sharing some of the folks that I look up to, some of the folks that I emulate to aspire to be my best version of myself? I strongly believe that given all of the social change that we have seen, we are experiencing a moment in time. We are experiencing a moment in time that, as Tim asked us to do, asked us to dare to dream bigger and bolder. Each of you has the potential to be anything that you want to be. How will you choose to define your identity, your vision, your definition of what you'd aspire to be in the future? I see within these 4 amazing leaders from our community 4 leadership qualities that I truly believe in. Caring, the ability to care about each and every one that comes across your path, whether it's for a brief period or a longer period. Optimism, we need a ton of optimism, not to get through just COVID and all of the unprecedented change we've seen, but to go on this next wave of technological innovation in a way that continues to be respectful of our human qualities, continues to be ethical. Persistence. We will all experience the highs and the lows, the ups and the downs. And each of these leaders had a tremendous amount of persistence. How can we learn, listen from them, and take that to where we'd like to head? And empathy. Empathy for the human condition, empathy for the poverty, empathy for the challenges we face with racial justice, empathy for what we are experiencing in all of our communities in terms of the digital divide, and even bigger than the digital divide, the economic divide. Hopefully, I've inspired you to think about who are the people you aspire to emulate? What are the qualities you're looking for as you start your journey so that 25, 30 years later, more of you are in a position to give back in a way that Tim does, Terry does, Earl has on behalf of BDPA. So I work for Eli Lilly. I have this amazing, amazing role. And more importantly, I have an environment where I am allowed to bring my full self to work. The reason I have that environment is a consequence of the commitment to diversity that our executives have made. As you can see here, Dave Ricks, our CEO, truly believes that in our pursuit of excellence, as we strive to deliver the best medicines for all of the patients out there, we need to harness the collective intelligence from all the diverse cultures, backgrounds, bring those best ideas together, and relentlessly pursue those ideas in a way so that we can have the impact within our communities, with our patients, and be truly, truly big thinkers, and more importantly, bold innovators. We are routinely recognized for the work we do. We are recognized from all different minorities. And I think it's quite a privilege and an honor to be part of a company that is willing to go above and beyond to have such a huge, huge impact. We recognize and realize that there's a lot more work to do. And as a consequence of that, instead of being just internally focused, we're continuing to invest externally. So leveraging our capital in partnership with the Lilly Foundation to create the next generation of minority-owned businesses, entrepreneurs, partnering with the 110 initiative that was created by Ken Frazier as he took on our former president to make sure that we will get to the parity that we need. And if you listen to the video where we introduced Lilly, we want to make sure that our medicines work for all of us. So critical success factor there is earning your trust so that this community will engage in our clinical trials so we can make sure that our medicines work for our DNA. 3 big pillars, all part of Lilly's commitment to racial justice. Because I'll lay a seed for where we're headed with this discussion. Yes, data science and data and analytics and digital networks is in our DNA. And yet at the same time, it's more than our DNA. Each of us has to decide how we're going to show up. What are the behaviors? What are the actions that we're going to take to make a difference for all of our kids? So the big question that everybody tends to ask when we have these conversations around diversity and inclusion, does it impact? Does it impact our communities? Does it impact our culture? Does it impact our reputation? Does it impact business results? Our commitment to D&I is never better highlighted than if you think about the positive impact it has had on both our innovation ranking and our invention ranking in our industry. So just to hone in a little bit, what's the difference between the invention and the innovation? The invention, if you think about the best example I have is the laser, right? That's the invention. There is someone that developed the invention. There is someone that developed CRISPR. And the innovation is actually taking that invention and reaping or harnessing the benefit of it. So with the laser, it's used in so many different industries for so many different use cases. The return has been really high. Similarly, with CRISPR, you'll see an example of a disease area that truly, truly matters to us as we start to figure out not just how we can treat sickle cell, but how we could potentially set the stage to cure sickle cell. Diversity and inclusion, if you look out there, does boost innovation, does boost culture, improves your reputation, and yes, has an impact on profitability. It's a big, giant and. Gender diverse and inclusive teams tend to outperform their less inclusive counterparts by 50%. In 2018, BCG confirmed that diverse leadership teams report higher innovation revenue, 45% of total revenue versus just 26%. Retention and engagement, the tech industry, the industry that's actually creating so much of the change that we're all experiencing right now in our amazing sector. They do know resoundingly that culture drives turnover. And the less welcome that underrepresented groups feel, the more likely they are to leave. They are expecting more of us as employers. It's estimated that that loss could be as high as $16 billion each year. So why then am I here asking you to dream data science? I'm asking us to dream data science because of the revolution that's happening out there. There is a huge, huge talent gap within data sciences. And more importantly, it's something that requires a lot of investment on our part. Men outnumber women in this field by 3 to 1. You typically need a master's degree or higher. There are lots and lots of opportunities open, but I'll draw your attention to the inlay on the right. We, Blacks and Latinos, represent about 32% of the population, but only 12% currently are ascribing to be data sciences. The challenge is only compounded if you look at the rate at which the jobs are changing, the rate at which automation is penetrating different environments and disrupting the type of work that is likely to be done in the future. It's highly likely that we need to encourage our communities to prepare for the jobs of the future. And that inherently means whether you choose to be more scientific, more technical, work in healthcare, finance, retail, or even art. You're going to need to increase your data science quotient. So in healthcare, my true love, my true passion, something that I've spent 25, 30 years in the public sector, in the private sector, there's these two amazing parallel revolutions that are happening. Human biology, just knowing your DNA, that's necessary, but potentially insufficient at this point. We talk a lot about different ways in which we're treating disease. It used to be one option was a small molecule. Now we have small molecules, large molecules, antibodies, vaccines created from messenger RNA, Moderna, Pfizer, gene editing, CRISPR, things that we haven't dreamt of yet. So amazing, amazing innovation happening in human biology. We are unpacking or understanding human biology at an unprecedented rate. Yes, there are some treatments out there for sickle cell, a disease that disproportionately affects our community. More importantly, there's some early data that says gene therapy could be useful in the disease. And here's another very early stage innovation where a company called Beam Therapeutics has managed to edit, if you will, single base pairs, change AT pairs into GC pairs in mice so that the oxygen carrying capacity, the negative clinical phenotype that you see with sickle cell, can change to something innocuous. Along that journey to make that type of innovation happen, we need a lot of machine learning, we need a lot of data, and we need a lot of technology. So you can see that this thing that we call AI, the recipe is you take the data, you go ahead and you wrangle the data, you prepare it, get it ready to interact with the technology, and then you apply these deep learning models to derive insight. That recipe, if you will, is what all of us need to learn. Doesn't matter what the field we choose to apply it to. The holy grail, if you will, is to do it in an ethical way, do it in a way that sets the stage where the next generation is prepared to actually do these types of jobs so they can all have successful, meaningful lives. How does inclusion impact innovation? If you find the naysayers who don't quite believe that inclusion impacts innovation, I always say, just tell them the story of the burkini. And the story of the burkini, for those of you who don't know, Frans Johansson does an amazing job of telling this story, is a Muslim woman whose family moves to Australia, a beach culture. And there, she loves the water and she wants to figure out a way how to engage and enjoy the water. But the burqa and the fabric that the burqa is actually made out of, because she wants to continue to be who she is, respectful of her identity, respectful of her roots, respectful of her religion. She can't enjoy it. So she creates a swimsuit, huge, huge market, made out of bikini fabric, but that's consistent with her heritage. That's how the burkini was coined, conceptualized, and implemented. Behind the scenes, the innovation happens at the intersection where cultures, domains, and disciplines come together. Another great example that I'll encourage you to go check out is what results in synthetic tendons. Huge, huge example of using spiders and goats. Great TED Talks out there. Wonderful, wonderful opportunity to learn about what's called the Medici effect. All of the journeys or the stories I've shared with you, if you trace the people that make this happen, the teams that make this happen. I tried and keep trying, but it's really, really rare to find a team that's completely homogeneous, i.e., 50% of diverse teams tend to outperform teams that tend to come from a monoculture. Franz Johansson, he shares the example. He's Swedish, but basically he comes from a biracial background. And when he was growing up in Sweden, he was the only person who looked like him. It was the blonde-haired, blue-eyeds, and then there was him. As we see a lot more cross-fertilization between our cultures, between our economies, as more of us become world citizens, you'll see the next generation continue to change and morph. That's part of the reason we all advocate for diverse teams, diverse ideas, diverse perspectives coming together, because it's going to make a big difference for society and humanity. So I always get this question, what does an innovation culture look like? And for those of you who can see me today, typically when I do a talk, I always get a blowout. I didn't get a blowout. I put my hair up in a braid last night and I took it off. And I have wild, wild curly hair. And all of us know that very, very often we are misperceived for what we look like. And in my case, depending upon the day of the week and what I'm wearing and how much sun I've had, that spectrum varies. And sometimes I find that feedback hurtful. And I find it hurtful because it's very, very rare that folks actually guess where I'm truly from. And one of the things that I had to do for my own identity formation, for my own leadership formation, was to let go of that. Tim talked about the highs and the lows. And then to embrace that it didn't really matter what they thought. It mattered what I knew. It mattered what I felt. And so when I think through what does an innovation culture look and feel like, I wanted to share that I think and feel that an innovation culture looks like the annual BET Awards. Every year I look forward to watching the BET Awards. And this year, those awards were amazing. I think it looks like the annual BET Awards because they're such a vocal, such an entrepreneurial, such a brutally honest community that have broken through so many barriers. Because if you think about what is the one thing that the Black and the Latino culture has brought to this world that we all love and enjoy, it's music. So I want to leave you with this big, bold call to action. Tim said, your dreams are more important than your memories. Your dreams are more important than your memories. As you go on your journey of life, as you think about where you would like to head, as you receive encouragement from your mentors, your sponsors, your peeps, and then at the same time, as you receive tough feedback, as you get pushed down. I want you to remember that your dreams are more important than your memories, and your collage that you're building of your life, personal, professional. I'm going to make a strong ask. I dare you to dream a little bit of data science. On the right here is this amazing, amazing picture by David Driscoll. It's a collage. I've often wondered, if I make it big enough, can I own a piece that someday looks like this? It speaks to me in lots of different ways because you see so many different representations in this one picture. And for all of those who are encouraged to put ourselves in a box, are encouraged to squash our dreams, squash our beliefs, squash our thinking, and not continue to learn and grow, I actually think one wonderful way to think about where the world is headed is the intersection of disciplines, the intersection of communities, the intersection of people coming together, yes, with technology, but for much, much bigger impact on things that truly matter to each and every one of us. I'll end there, and I think despite a little bit of time at the front, we have the ability to take some questions.
Thank you for your presentation. We do have a question in our Q&A from Joe Blair. He was wondering what your thoughts are regarding how diversity and inclusion may impact biases in data science, AI, and machine learning.
Thank you, Joe, and nice to see you. It's a great question. Any data science, AI, or ML work you do is only as good as the data you feed into it. So, to just use the medicines example, if we want our medicines not to be biased, then we have to make sure that we collect data that is truly representative of the problem we are trying to solve. So, collecting the right data, we engage in an exercise called profiling your data. And as you profile that data, you have to define the boundary conditions under which your model will be successful. If you don't have the right data for the right question or problem, your answer is at best incomplete. There's a huge focus right now within this industry to create guidelines on how you do what we call ethical data sciences and ethical AI. We fully recognize that that is a gap. We don't currently have the principles and guidelines well outlined. To answer your question, Joe.
He says yes, and I'm glad. I don't see any other questions. If you have questions, please post them in the chat, Q&A. We'll give it a couple more minutes. I certainly heard a powerful message today, Rangia. I thought your presentation was incredible and is influencing me definitely to dream data science. So hopefully we have some more questions. Give it a couple more seconds, last minute questions. All right, oh, we have one that just popped in. Another question, how do we begin to address the talent gap?
So I think there's a couple things that we're doing. One is you have to get out there in the community and share with all of the undergrads, the high school students, even middle school, the why, and just expose them, right? So we're doing more data science academies. We've actually got a little datathon that we're sponsoring with Northwestern Mutual a life as part of BDPA, and we just got to get out there and be more intentional about having that impact. So if you think about the story Tim told about, he was on his bike and he stumbled across someone who ends up helping him learn how to code and write his first computer game, right? All of us who worked in this industry have a little bit of that story. And we can't let it completely depend on chance anymore. We have to be very, very intentional about how we're going to see the desired penetration that we need.
Very well answered. We have another question. Actually, we have two more. Keep coming in. Someone asked for suggestions on how to overcome barriers in the realm of data science, I believe.
So I think that that was the one I just answered, right? So let's see, Donna's asking a question. How intentional do you think companies are with ensuring there is diversity in data science? So I'll just share, specifically what I needed to do. And it is quite bold. In my team, I did not have any Black data scientists. And so initially we were nurturing a couple of Black students who were in the process of getting their PhD. And then some of them have opted to decide that they'd like to be professors or they'd like to go to medical school. So that was like, now what do I do? So BDPA ends up being a source of talent. And we've started to build very, very strong connections with the wholly owned Black colleges. We do seminars and we're building our networks. And then when we have an opportunity, we target recruiting, retention, internships from those schools. You're also highly likely to meet a student completely by accident. So funny story, I was on the way back from Amsterdam, and I'm in the lounge in the Netherlands, and I run into this wonderful woman and I strike up a conversation with her. She works for CNN. It turns out her son is currently at the University of Oklahoma and a freshman in computer engineering. He's now one of the participants in the datathon. So you have to sometimes go off the routine traditional paths to keep getting your message heard over and over again repetitively. So I know every single one of the leaders, whether they're from Facebook, NVIDIA, where I used to work, all of the pharma companies are very, very committed to making sure that our students, our kids know how valuable learning data science can be. As someone who's relatively entry level, what are some actions that I could take, if any? I think the best action you could take is initially be curious. The second action you could take, Travis, if you'd like to, come to the kickoff of our datathon and then check out some of the MOOCs. So MOOC stands for Massive Online Open Courseware. There's a lot of free entry-level training classes out there. So just take a couple of them and see if that perks up your interest. And then if you're in high school or college, if you can't find one of those avenues, I'd even encourage you to just get out there on LinkedIn and see if you can connect with someone. There's lots of these meetups. BDPA is a great place to connect with people. Feel free to reach out and build your network and understand how you could satisfy that curiosity so you could figure out, is this right for you?
Very good. I'm not seeing any other questions. Maybe people are typing, but I guess we can wrap. No more questions. Okay. Well, before we break off into our next conference sessions, I wanted to thank you again for this incredible experience and this incredible message that you've brought to us all today. I think the next sessions will be a couple panels that will be focusing on entrepreneurship and HBCU excellence. So that will be incredible as well, I believe. But thank you all for joining again, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming, and stay strong.